Good morning and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This is a hangout especially for solopreneurs. We're here so that we can share information and support one another and give encouragement and generally have a little bit of fun too. So welcome to our viewers and welcome to the folks in the green room or the film strip. And in our usual habit, I like to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to introduce themselves and say what they do. Maybe this morning, since there's only three of us, if anybody's got a special project online or whatever on the go, maybe you might like to share that with us this morning. So, Craig, what about you? Would you like to begin this morning?
Well, certainly. My name is Craig. My business is Who Marketing, and I help small businesses get online and get a good presence online and bring in customers that way.
Anything on the go right now?
Oh, I have a big old list.
Oh my!
One of these days, I'll get a whiteboard.
So welcome. It's nice to have you here, Craig. And how about you, Jay?
Hi, my name is Jay, and my company is AffiliateResources.inc, and I help people get online and get in the world of affiliate marketing. I train people, and so one special project I'm working on this month is I'm teaching people how to start an affiliate website through a company called Wealthy Affiliate. And this month we've been doing a live niche case study where I've found a niche, and we've created a website, and so we're coming up to the 4th week, so they're our last week, and we have a site that's live. It's already making sales, and it's already getting traffic. So yeah, it's been very exciting, and a lot of people have been really enjoying watching the whole process from inception to sales. So it's been great. It's all being recorded too. So
great on.
Yeah.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and the niche is football snack helmets.
Oh yes, I remember you mentioning that last week, and I couldn't figure out what on earth
a football snack. Well, yeah, it took me a minute to learn what it was too, but they're very popular.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Jay. I'm glad you're here. And Paul, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, good morning. I'd just like to say I'm on a mission to stamp out sales breath. And so all of us here at For More Buyers, we want you to stop selling and start engaging your customers in their buying path.
For More Buyers, tell us more about that.
Well, it's about to go live, and it's just helping people through the process of switching from selling to start engaging customers in the customer's buying path.
I like the business name. I think that's great.
I do too. I think it's great. So is that a URL?
It will be.
Aha. Looking forward to hearing more about that. And I might introduce myself. In my work style, lifestyle coaching, I love helping solopreneurs find direction, keep their focus, and create systems that are going to support their business. And this Being Your Own CEO hangout is one of those things that I like to do to support solopreneurs. I have a solo enterprise program that I put together for the solopreneur as well. So this morning we thought we might talk about the kinds of supports that are needed to enhance the solopreneur's experience. You know, I mean, I guess we could all sit down and decide to do every single thing that needs to be done um, in our business, but eventually that becomes, yes, I see Paul is pulling his hair out. Be careful. He may not want to pull it too hard or too much of it.
I still have all my hair.
I like to say that a lot of solopreneurs experience a heck of a lot of overwhelm quite often when they're first starting out, and don't know what to do first, and what they should know how to do themselves, and what they should contract out to somebody else, etc. So I made a list this last evening, I guess it was, of the supports and all the supports that I have, and I'm hoping that you folks will add to my list if you can think of some, and you may be able to add to some detail to some of the things that I talked about, or that I will talk about. One of the things that I noticed in my coaching work is a number of people speak about having a mentor and having a coach. And I've noticed that a lot of people don't know what the difference is. So here's my definition anyway. So a mentor is somebody who's been in that field or in that business for a long time, has the benefit of a great deal of experience and wisdom from that experience. They're also, because they've been around a long time, they're able to introduce you to other movers and shakers within that business. And, you know, they can introduce you in the right places. So that's my understanding of a mentor. Whereas a coach can be, and always is, basically a sounding board, and the value of having that sounding board is that the coachee can actually hear themselves say things out loud. You know, sometimes you have things running around in your head, and especially as a solopreneur, you really don't have you know, a work colleague to run things by, and so a coach makes a good sounding board to hear yourself work through things as you're thinking about them. But the coach also has that sense of reality and gets to know what your objective is, and therefore can ask all the right questions, help you sort of think things through as you're trying to decide what to do. So coaches help you make better decisions, I think. They also provide a great deal of encouragement. Sometimes if we're a little bit uncertain and we got that fear thing going on, sometimes the coach can help sort of work that through and give you encouragement. And the most important piece that I think that a coach can do is keep you accountable to yourself. Not that the coach will beat you over the head if you didn't do what you said you were going to do, but just knowing that you're going to have a conversation with a coach next week, you're going to get the work done. So that's mainly what a coach does. And of course, sometimes a coach, you know, all of these fields that I'm talking about, sometimes they can all be rolled into one person as well. That certainly is the case. So the third thing is a consultant, and in the coaching world, consulting is kind of not regarded as being what your role is as a coach. Because a coach or a consultant usually shares knowledge and shares models and shares how-tos and tools and things of that nature. And definitely in the consulting field, there's often a great deal of coaching that happens as well. So for me, I've known this about myself for a long time. I do both. I do coaching and I do consulting. So that's the three main fields that often confuse people. Now, some of the other things in my list are maybe not quite as confusing, but maybe they are. For example, one of the key people that I work with is what I call an IT consultant, a person who is willing to come to my home office and help me keep my computer system in really good working order, and making sure that I've got all the best security programs in place, etc. So I've worked with the same IT consultant for probably 10 or 12 years. And he comes maybe once or twice a year, and I can't tell you how much I've learned from him. So I don't know, because we've got two very experienced computer people here, I'd like to throw that out. Jay and Craig, do you have people like that, or is that something that you tend to do for yourselves?
Well, for me, it's just something that I do myself, because I have experience in building PCs, and you know, I can work my way around my Mac and stuff like that. So you know, I'm comfortable doing what I need to do to keep my PC running or my Macs running. So I don't need to rely on someone. You know, if I did, it would be the result of just knowing that it'll take more time for me to do it versus bringing someone in. You know, so it's and I know my time is worth more. You know, than I'm losing money if I'm doing that as opposed to other things that could be, you know, making money. So I mean, this is actually one of the reasons why I'm on a Mac primarily, because the upkeep it's not as, you don't have to, you know, have people come in or upkeep. It's funny, I actually just bought a new laptop, an HP laptop, kind of like the family laptop, and holy smokes, does it take forever to set up, because it's a brand new one. You have to set it up. It had Windows 8, and it came with the free upgrade to Windows 10, and it's like, it was actually funny because I was a little kind of taken back because I had never experienced Windows 10 or 9 or whatever it is. So, you know, so you know, I'm just like, okay. I took it to the store to where I purchased it. I said, "Here, upgrade it. here's my money. Do it." Because that exact reason. Because I knew I could, you know, with time I could have figured it out, but it was just taking so darn long that I just felt like I just needed to you know, get someone else to do it. It's like changing your own oil on your car, or just going to an auto shop and doing it.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I did my own upgrade to 10, and
I should have hired you then.
It was really easy.
Yeah.
It was really easy.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I'm my IT consultant, George. I have learned so much from him over the years that I need him less and less. And he's been the kind of consultant that feels good to him, that I've learned a lot from him, and so I need him less and less. So yeah. So Craig, what about you? Do you do your own computer maintenance?
Well, I was the guy that everybody went to for a while. So yeah, I spent a lot of time in industry working with various operating systems. You know, I had to downgrade a whole bunch of computers at one point back to 3.1.1 because it because the software that they had running at the time was only compatible with software with the old Windows.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking industrial level stuff here. So I even had to maintain a thing one time that I don't think it even had Windows on it, and the compatible software needed to be in DOS only. So
Oh, God.
yeah, my first computer had punch cards.
Wow.
Are dating yourself, sir.
Well, literally, I worked on a PDP 1140 in college, and my job was to pick up the decks of cards that the students had made for their programming task and put it into the computer and let it run, and then hit Control-Alt-Delete when they got into an infinite loop or something like that. So,
Wow.
not Control-Alt-Delete, but it was Control Escape, I think it was back then.
Or take the card out.
No, once the program's running, if they got into an infinite loop, the only thing we could do was stop the program and say, "Hey, you got an infinite loop here." Happened more often than not.
Yeah. Now we're getting into techie land, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't go there.
So basically, I was the go-to guy. So yeah, I kind of have my way. I'm still a PC guy, but I'm still scared of upgrading to Windows 10. I have a system that works and that I'm comfortable with, and I really don't want to change it if I can help it.
Yeah.
They're going to force me to eventually, but I'm going to wait until it's stable, until they got all the bugs out.
Well, I heard somebody say that, and but my reasoning was that I will probably run into clients and prospects who are doing this, and I decided I needed to know the what the experience is, so I would know what they're talking about. So,
Well, Lalan, I've got a question for you about coaching. Would you say that a coach has more accountability than a mentor would? Because they're in the audience there with that person. I wrote down like a kind of a visual in terms of the difference between a coach, and a mentor. A mentor I envision as someone who's on the stage delivering information, and a coach is in the audience delivering the information. So a mentor is more. I keep thinking of the Wizard of Id, the comic where he's delivering this message to a mass amount of people or a small group, whereas a coach is delivering information, but he's getting feedback from the recipients.
I would explain it in a slightly different way. A mentor is usually not paid.
Okay.
That's usually kind of a voluntary, kind of very informal relationship.
So on the hierarchy level, would you say a mentor is the next level up above a coach? If you call it a hierarchy,
I don't know that I would put it in a hierarchy. I mean, I could tell you that I view Paul as a mentor.
Okay.
We get together for a coffee once in a while. We had a marathon coffee recently. Yeah. But and our conversation went all over the place and whatever. And from my perspective, I found that a very stimulating conversation that just started to fire up all kinds of little things going on in my head about possibilities, etc. So it's usually a mentor is somebody that you have a lot of regard for.
Right.
And it's a mentor, and usually, I mean, there's also well, there's high regard that I think that goes both ways. The mentor, kind of sees somebody with some potential and would really like to see them move ahead, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a mentor is usually not a paid experience, whereas a coach and a consultant are.
Okay. What are the biggest hurdles? Like, as a coach, what are the biggest hurdles to convince people to hire you? Like, what is it? Because I personally, I've no desire to hire a coach or a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're great. I think they're great ideas. I used to be a gymnastics coach myself, so
think about what you did as a gymnastics coach. It's
Mhm.
it's
Hello, Lana.
very similar. Yes, Paul.
If I may, your definition of a coach, I think, is one of personal experience. The way I look at it is fairly simple. That mentors deal in why, coaches deal in how, and consultants in who, when, and where. And that's sort of a more strict definition of it. And it keeps it very straight for me when I'm mentoring.
Wow. Well, I mean, I certainly, as a coach, I have done lots of why work with people.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, and
But I think that's more of your mentoring side than your coaching side.
I've never.
I also think it's a premise in terms of getting to understand people. Like, well, why are you going down this path? Why are you doing this? All right, well, let's mold that and change it. You know.
Yeah, because that's where the clarity comes in. Until you know why you're doing something, you don't have that kind of clarity. So, and I always see the consultant as the how. So,
Okay.
but they for me they kind of meld together.
And do coaches come, like, do you meet with clients on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Do you have like a package deal? It's like, all right, well, we're going to meet once a week for 8 weeks. Here's the end. And do you get like an end result or an end goal kind of thing, or do you set milestones?
Yes.
Obviously, it depends on the individual, but in the package.
Well, certainly when I'm working with a client, the very first thing we do is have a conversation that makes it very clear on what we're going to work on and how we'll know whether it's successful or not.
Mm.
So, and that becomes almost like a mini contract. So that's the first conversation.
Right.
And generally it's well, I like to look for a 3-month commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And that involves 3 hour-long sessions a month.
Okay.
Sometimes some clients prefer a half hour. That's style, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like to think out loud, and others don't. It's kind of an easy way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
3 months, again, it depends on what the client wants to work on. 3 months is sometimes quite adequate. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just carries on. I'm working with one client. I've been working with her for 15 years. And once she discovered what coaching was, her comment was, "I will never be without a coach ever again." Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. See, I always had the vision of a coach is only for a certain amount of time, and then the young Padawan is set free and off they go into the business world or the life world.
And sometimes that is the way it works.
Right.
This particular client that I'm referring to works in government.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
And she's, over the years, she's become very adept at knowing how to make use of what I do.
Right. Yeah, because you have an immense amount of experience being in the government, working for the government.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the other thing that I do for her is I stay on top of the trends in the organizational work, and when I discover something that I think would be useful to her situation,
mm-hmm.
I expose her to that.
Mm.
So it's, in a kind of a way, it's a combination of coaching and consulting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the average investment in terms of a coach?
Yeah, how do you mean? On the part of the person being coached?
So in terms of, so if someone's looking for a coach, right? They typically, I would imagine, people have a set dollar amount in mind. It's like, okay, well, I've got $1,000. I'm willing to invest $1,000 in coaching services. You know, I'm like, do people expect, like, like, what I don't understand is how coaches charge, you know, fees. Like, is it a set fee? And you know, do people get sticker shock when you tell them, well, it's going to be $2,000, right? It's like, whoa, gee, I could spend that elsewhere, you know.
There are some coaches that charge $5,000.
Right.
Tony Robbins or people at that level, they charge huge amounts. But I would say roughly, most coaches would charge somewhere between $400 and $500 a month.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I would imagine people would want to have this ROI mentality. You know, it's like, okay, so I'm investing this. So how am I going to get my money back? You know, do you ever get that kind of question in terms of?
That's part of the conversation of what is it we're working on, and how will we measure whether we've been successful or not.
And understanding the value of what you're getting, right? So.
And often the difficult part, you ask how would a person know. It's more difficult to describe what happens in coaching than it is to demonstrate what happens in coaching.
Right.
So often what happens is coaches will offer an initial consultation that will work with the client on some small issue, just to give them a sense of how it works, what it feels like, and how it works, and whether there's a good personality mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really important. Is that personality mix?
It's huge. It's hugely important.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been called a coach, like, in my business world, and I've been called a mentor. You know, and I've been called a consultant too. So, but I don't brand myself as a coach, consultant, or a mentor. Right. You know, so I brand myself as a CEO. But I mean, one of the things that's in my wheelhouse is teaching people internet marketing through a portal, through a portal called Wealthy Affiliate. And you know, there's tens of thousands of people that attend these webinars that I do every Friday, you know, and as a result of that, I get a lot of people that follow me and follow what I do, and they call me, thank you, you're a great mentor, and stuff like that. And I don't know how to absorb that, and I don't know how to, like, I don't know how to. Well, I mean, it's very humbling, you know, honestly, but I don't know how to reply to that, because I don't consider myself a mentor. Maybe I'm just too darn humble, but you know, it's. Can you coach me on how to become a mentor or a coach for these people, or should I even just bother? You know, like, I just say, I'm just someone who knows a little bit more about, a little more experience about this stuff. So.
Well, Jay, in your case, I think that just saying thanks works really well.
Yeah. And
don't worry about what you are. It's what you do for them that's important, and when they recognize it, I think just saying thanks is the best way to go.
Right. So just chew my bubble gum and nod my head. Right.
Exactly. Don't worry about what you're doing. You're doing it well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was going to say, I would say that I mean, these definitions that I've given you are kind of theoretical definitions, and not everybody understands the distinctions between them. And I might say that there's another category here that I neglected to include, and that would be a counselor or a therapist. And that's an entirely different role from the others, although I wouldn't be surprised the average therapist doesn't do a bit of coaching as well.
Right, but I think when you start using those phrases, counselor or therapist, would you not agree that we're taking the business element away there?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Although I'm sure somewhere in the world there is a business therapist.
I don't know.
Hey, maybe there's a new thing. There's a new angle there. That's good.
Well, my dad was a therapist, and he ran a business at it.
Very good.
He could have probably used a business coach, however.
Right, but it was reversed. It was a therapist business.
Right.
Absolutely. So, getting back to some of the other supports that solo entrepreneurs need, I'm beginning to think I need an SEO consultant. So, and I know that both of you do some of that work, and I'm not exactly sure whether this is something I can learn to do myself, or whether I should learn to do it myself, or really what's involved. So.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's kind of funny that we get into this because it really does boil down on personality mixes. You know, I personally believe that the solopreneur can learn the premise, like the basics of SEO, because it's very linear, you know, in terms of what needs to be done to get rankings, you know. But it's like Doctor Who's telephone box, you know. It's a certain size, a certain box, so you kind of estimate, you get a good idea. Okay, well that's the size of it. But then when you get inside it, then it's huge, right? So
Comparison.
So, you know, I think learning the basics of SEO is, I think, really essential for any solopreneur. And I think it's I would say a prerequisite, because to market your business in the online channel, you need to know how to market your business, just like you need to know how to market your business offline, you know? And that's going to save you a potential ton of money, is by taking a small course or ongoing support of similar to your IT guy, where he's kind of done stuff for you, and he's slowly, you know, you're learning as it's being done. So, you know, and you're on WordPress, right? You're on a WordPress site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I personally think that I'm going to point this way. I'm going to assume Craig's here. I think Craig would do a wonderful job because I taught him some stuff.
Yes, you did. You were my mentor, Jay.
There you go. So I'm releasing. I release you. I'm releasing the Padawan, right? But Craig is very familiar with the WordPress world. So that's something where Craig can offer that as a service, as a coaching, you know, consulting, mentoring, therapist type business, right? So.
Okay, so Craig, tell me what you would do. What would the process be if you were going to be an SEO coach?
If I were going to be an SEO coach,
mm-hmm.
Well, we would analyze what you have first.
Right.
And once we understand what it is we're working with and how far you've actually gotten, then we would put in place certain techniques. I mean, they're on-page SEO, off-page SEO. You know, there's a list of about 6 or 8 things that need to be in place.
Mm-hmm.
We'd also look at, are you a local business? Are you trying to promote locally, or are you trying to promote nationally? I mean, there are 2 different techniques for promoting on the different levels. I mean, if you're a small business, like most of the ones that I work with, there's a whole set. I mean, the basics are still the same, but there's a whole nother set that you have to take care of for the small business that's promoting locally and trying to get people come in their door, versus somebody that's selling to everyone or trying to get ranked at a whole nother level. So.
And so, would that entail conversations, regular conversations? Like, how does that work?
Well, typically I'll do a Google Hangout. We'll discuss logins. I'll get access to the site that I'm working on, and we'll take a look at the back end and see what's being done, what needs to be done, and what's in place already.
Yeah, I think the walkaway too with that would be having like a PDF, kind of a cheat sheet as to what should be done going forward when you create new content on your own site. You know, it's like, all right, so here's the content. Let me go through my check sheet. All right, do I have my meta title? Check. Do I have my meta description? Is it under 155 characters? Check. Do I have an image? Check. Do I have an alt tag on that image? Check. Do I have an internal link? Check. You know, and then once you have those core things, you know, for your site, for your page, then you can press publish, right? Now there's the next step, right? Now I press publish. All right, here's my next checklist. All right, do I share it socially? Check. Do I ask for comments? Check. You know, do I engage with my audience? Check. So, and I think sometimes people need to, you know, some people touch the stove so many times before they learn, you know. So I find having those checks.
The blisters have finally healed.
So I find having those checklists, like even print them out or put sticky notes on the side of your monitor as a, you know, have it in a linear fashion, and literally check these things off as you're going through each of your pages, you know, and just that sheer effort itself, doing those checklists is sufficient enough. And then what you would do from there is let your coach or your consultant know, okay, here's what I did. Can you check my work, right?
Right.
Jay, I
Go back and look at the results.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, I think was
Yeah.
trying to ask something.
No, I was just going to say, Jay, I spent 23 years in the airline business, and nothing moves until there's a tick beside it. Every takeoff, every landing, every time a plane moves, there's a checklist, and it's a simple process, but it's so effective. It's just the way to get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's SEO, you know, and online marketing is very linear. You know, the process is the technical part is very linear. So if you just have this simple checklist, you know, then it's going to make your takeoff that much easier, right?
So the final question that I would have about having an SEO coach or consultant is how is that, like, what's the charging? Is it by the hour, by the month, how does that work?
Well, typically for me, it's I don't do coaching, like SEO coaching, through my consulting business any longer. I just end up pushing people into Wealthy Affiliate because it's a great system where, you know, where they can learn all this stuff, and they get on-demand support for $47 a month, $19 for the first month, and then $47 thereafter. Beyond that, what I used to do is I would understand what I'm up against in terms of the client, right? So understanding their knowledge, their bullheadedness, if that's even such a word, you know, is if they're stubborn in terms of the way they do things and the way they learn things, you know, that just means it's going to take longer. So you have to factor all these things. And I personally prefer to put together package deals versus like just hourly rates. But the package deals is based on X amount of hours at X amount of charge. So you know, with that being said, and the reason why I like that package deal is because you as the client see an end result. So, like, you know, okay, well, I'm going to be spending, you know, $300 to $500 as a core, and I know I'm going to learn this. So it's perfect, right? So in terms of a total investment as a core package, you know, your investment is anywhere between $300 to $500 as a coaching, you know, mentorship kind of course thing, where the end result is you understand the basics of SEO, of on-page, off-page, what you need to do. You would get the checklist, you would get, you know, follow-ups and Q&As and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
that's useful to know for the average solopreneur, to know that
Yes.
that it can be a package, and that there's a sort of a definite outcome
Yeah.
attached to it.
And I think it's important to, when you're shopping for this kind of service, and if they say, well, it's going to be $50 an hour, ask them to put together a package, as opposed to just having an hourly rate. Because an hourly rate's fine, but there's no end result. You don't know what the end result is.
Right.
People, solopreneurs, small to medium-sized business, want an end result. They want an ROI, you know, and they want better, you know, an end result, you know. So and the ROI is huge. So if you can also calculate your cost as an ROI, so if you're spending $500 for a package, then you can think, you know, and the consultant can help you. Okay, well, $500 is going to get you better SEO, better education. You probably get more traffic to your site. So let's say you get an extra 200 visitors to your site as a result of our, you know, training together. Now, your average cost is, say, $500. You know, your service fee. So all you would need out of that 200 extra traffic is, you know, 1 or 2 people to convert, and then you've got your ROI.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when you show people that, then they go, oh, well, now that makes sense. Versus just an hourly rate, you know. So then you have to say, well, then I have to get, you know, 0.5 of a person every month to, you know, to get it back. So and if people get that sticker shock of $300 to $500 as a you know, base package, then I refer them to WA, where it's only $47 a month, and people that's more of a forgettable price, right? And then they have access to me. They can access me through chats and stuff like that. So,
Craig, do you put your work together in a package in that similar fashion?
Well, I spend much more time talking to the people and finding out where they are, and yeah, I guess it does end up as a package. You know, we discuss what it is they need. So, yeah.
Right. So, and I'm sorry, I forgot to ask Paul. Are you using what do you use for supports in your work? Do you work with IT specialists and so forth? How do you work?
Well, what I like to do is take, for example, what we were talking about. Jay offers I call it an introductory package, a workshop, whatever you want. To me, what I do is I take those, and that gives me enough knowledge to know what to look for, and then I go hire somebody to do it. Because my job as a business owner and operator is to get things done. It's not to do them. And so I need enough knowledge to know and look for people that have the skills that I want, and once I have that, then it's up to me to find the best I can at what I can afford and get the job done.
I could not agree more with that, because, you know, you need to know. It's like when you take your car to the mechanic, you want to have some idea as to what they're doing under the hood, as opposed to just hoping for the best, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I find from my work that I need to know a fair amount about how things work, so that I can bring in that knowledge into the consulting part of my work. So I probably spend a little more time learning how to do things maybe than Paul would.
You spend a lot more time than Paul would. Patience is not a virtue that I have at my age.
Well, and I mean, let's face it. Part of this is, what are the things that you really enjoy doing? So, I mean, there are going to be things that you just get a kick out of doing, and so therefore you want to do it. And then there are other things that you despise doing, and maybe that's the thing you want to delegate away. So, I mean, there's that personality thing that comes in for sure. The other thing I was going to mention, so we talked about SEO consultant, and the other one that has worked for me is I actually have what I call a web consultant. So a person that helps me, like I do my own website, but I get into trouble. And so Ryan helps me sort of over those little hurdles and shows me, you know, well, here's the way to fix that, or here's what to do, or sometimes he'll just say, you know, it's way faster for me, I'll just do it, you know. So, and that's been a huge value for me as well, because I've learned a whole lot about the inner workings, the back end of WordPress from having worked with him. So there's that. But now we've got a few other supports here. Another one that has jumped out for me recently is to have a really good graphic designer. I'm participating in a project with Plus Your Business in Google Plus, and you know, there was all this talk about, you know, go to Canva and create your wonderful banner and do all of this. Well, I did that, and I realized I spent way too much time on that, and I really wasn't satisfied or happy with what I got. So I finally had a talk with myself and said, you know, why don't you just call Greg and get him to do it?
Yeah.
What's neat about him is that he kind of understands what my branding is, and I came to him already with some branding, and he was willing to kind of take that and work it and enhance it and so forth. And to be able to just connect with him and say, you know, can you create this for me, or can you do that, or whatever, that's been just a godsend. So to me, anybody that's doing work online really needs a graphic designer.
Yeah, but I think it boils down to their, I don't want to say creative ability or their artistic ability, but you know, if you're not satisfied with what you do inside Canva, because I've always recommended Canva to other people, saying it's a really great simple tool to make simple graphics. But if you want something more elaborate, or something more vector based, then absolutely you want to go over to you know, hire someone. You know, and graphic designers are not expensive. There's this big misconception that, you know, they're going to charge you an exuberant amount of money, where they really aren't, for simple little gigs, you know, because they're a dying breed, unfortunately. So they're reducing their costs, you know, because they need more gigs more often because of these tools like Canva and online editors. So, well,
one of the things that was really wonderful for me is what Greg has done for me is created some things that I can, and we've uploaded them to Canva. So I can just go in and make adjustments and so forth, and as I need it. Yeah. And that's just a great way to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you created the elements, and now you can use them as you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I really want to also say that in terms of branding, there are lots of marketers around and so forth, but I mean, I think if I were starting out from scratch, I would think that I would need to find somebody who can sit down and work through a whole branding process. So what my colors are going to be, what's the logo going to look like, what are the business cards going to look like, all of that. So I mean, that's a piece that people starting out really need to pay attention to, I think. So the the other piece that, the other two pieces actually, we mustn't forget the financial part.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I learned a long time ago is that I never do my own taxes. I always hire somebody to do my own taxes.
Yeah.
I hire an accountant to do that. But I do my own bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because I don't have that many transactions that it takes up all that much time. And again, it helps me understand how the financial thing works.
Mm-hmm.
I once had an accountant tell me years ago that if you continue to do your own books, you will always know exactly where your business is at. So I've always done my own books, but I always hire an accountant to go in at the year end and look at it all, make the year end changes that need to be made, and do the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have colleagues that just despise working with numbers and books and all of that. And they hire a bookkeeper who just does it all for them.
Yep.
But the piece on that is you better really know how to read your financial statements if you're going to do that. Yes, there's Paul with his thumbs up again. And the best way to be able to know how to read your financial statements is to do them. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I got busier and busier and busier, that could very easily be something I could ask somebody else to do now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then there's another occupation that has become very popular and many solo entrepreneurs use, and that's what's known as virtual assistant.
Right.
And they're people who do sort of online clerical work. Scheduling, although there's lots of scheduling software out there now that you can use, but responding to emails, doing background web work. I mean, there's all kinds of different.
Yeah, they're like virtual radar O'Reillys.
So I mean all of these services are available by other solo entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it only makes sense to do that. Now, I have a client right now who has been sort of creating a brand new online business, and she has said numerous times, boy, would I ever love to find somebody who would just go out and market my business for me. But I haven't stumbled on anybody who does that kind of work.
That kind of falls into the SEO realm, you know.
A little bit, it does.
Yeah. Because I mean, in terms of marketing, if she's specifically just talking about online-based marketing, then that's something that my company does. Is we'll make sure your site is SEO'd. Mm-hmm. We'll make sure that your social is all set up, and then we'll do it. We'll market online through mm-hmm. social and organic and whatnot, you know. But then you get into a higher price tag, ranging from $400 to $1,200 a month, depending on the level of competition and stuff. So if they could propagate that cost and see an ROI as a result of that, then absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now the alternative to that is to use software to do it yourself, but it speeds up the process. Mm-hmm. And there's tons of software ranging from like Hootsuite, which is an app that helps you do social media marketing, you know, but it's very limited, and they brand anything that you post through Hootsuite gets branded as posted by Hootsuite, you know, especially within Facebook and stuff. And yeah. So if they're willing to do that, and then the pro cost is like anywhere like $200 a year or something like that.
Yeah. TweetDeck, and there's a number of
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this client is looking to do some marketing to a specific
Demographic.
no, a specific occupation
Okay.
that's spread over spread all over. Yeah.
Okay.
So the client group that she's looking at don't spend a great deal of time online. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then it sounds like they need to. Well, I mean, that seems like a pretty big hurdle to go up. If you're marketing online and if your business is online, but your audience is offline, there's a huge educational hurdle there where you have to take your audiences to wherever they hang out. So through networking meetings, and then you have to guide them into an online world where they're kind of like, well, what? So,
yeah. Yeah. It's an emerging market that is beginning to pick up online, but it's slow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's always a reason why.
Yeah. So those were all the supports that came to my mind. Now, what about the three of you? Are there any other supports that you use in your work?
I have a question. What tools do you people use to time manage? I find with solopreneurs and small businesses that their effective use of their time is something that they're not good at.
I couldn't agree more. What tool? A list.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I have a process as opposed to a tool that seems to work really well for me. So Sunday night, and I use Google Calendar and also my main Mac calendar, and that works really well for me. Sunday night, I plan my week as to what I need to do, and then I set that up into my calendars with reminders and approximate time commitments as to what that would, how much time. But that's also equates to the amount of time that I work within each client, because I bill, by the hour. But with these package deals, they understand how many hours in a week, we work for them. So that's set up on Sunday night, and then daily tasks, I write them down in the morning on this thing, on my notepad, and commit to that. The other thing that I do is I try not to answer emails as they come in. I try to set certain times, in the day to answer emails, and I prioritize the emails.
Yeah.
So for me, that works well for me. And I've tried different CRMs like Insightly, Basecamp, and stuff, and they work, and they work fine. But the end result as to what I do works just fine with me.
So what I use is a combination of my calendar and Trello, just because I like working with visuals, and I can categorize the various things that I'm doing so that I can keep track of what I wanted to get done and so forth. But I find myself I use a lot of scratch paper. I find myself just writing down in the morning, these are the things I've got to remember I got to do today. So, but Paul, I know where your question is coming from, that piece that you shared with me this week, that little to-do thing, what was it called? I forget now. I did download it, and I have just messed with it a little bit. I find it a little bit intrusive, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of in your face. That's why I didn't know whether that was a good idea or a bad idea. I think for some people it might be a good idea.
Well, as I was looking at that, I mean, that was my reaction as well. I'm not going to throw it away until I experiment with it a bit, because maybe that is a good thing. I don't know. So, but there are tools out there. But I mean, Jay, I think you hit on something that's really important for us to emphasize, and that is to have a process. And in the work that in the work that we do for our clients, etc., we really need to have a process, and it needs to be laid out in a very, again, in a very linear way to make sure that all of those pieces are covered.
Yeah, avoid shiny objects at all costs.
That's a lesson I need to learn.
I found that the distraction level is something that needs to be controlled. You know, I like Jay's idea about writing down in the morning, but I do it at night. I do it the night before, and then I get to sleep on it. And in the morning, my brain has prepared myself for the next day. I also use Trello and the calendar. Those are two things that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
For years, I walked around with an organizer in my hand. I mean, wherever I was on a factory floor, so I couldn't take the computer with me to keep track of things because I was offline most of the time. So I just all my notes went into the organizer, and then I was able. I had a scanner, so I just dropped a page onto the scanner at the end of the day, and it actually there was a software back then. I don't know if it's still something that can be used, but it just converted my lists over into their software so that I can.
And I think it's really important to do organization offline, because when you do it online, there's so many other distractions when you're on your computer that could potentially invade the way you're working. You know, if you're trying to be organized and you're trying to do it online, well, being online or being on a computer is what is initially causing these shiny objects showing up, right? So when you do things offline, you have so much more control in terms of being distraction free. You know, you can put earphones on. You know, you can close the door. You can, sit in your closet or your bathroom if you need to. You know, and work in a distraction free environment. And I don't know what Paul was showing you, but it sounded very invasive, and I think if it's invasive, it's distracting. So I think you need to.
It is invasive. Every time you open a tab in Google, it shows your to-do list.
Oh, really? Oh.
Are you in fact working on what you want to work on?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
One of the tasks is to open a new tab.
Yeah. Exactly. Which kind of gets me to the point of when you talk about writing things to do down, is that more effective for you than actually scheduling a time to do them?
Oh, but I schedule times to do them, but I just write it down offline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not just
are these sort of tasks, or are they things that require more like creative and thought?
Creative and thought are always done first thing in the morning. Linear tasks that need to be done on a regular basis are done in the afternoon, because my best creative time is in the morning, because I've set it up where I've got coffee, I'm in my office, no one's I don't book any appointments for that morning, and that's when I have the best amount of creative juices flowing. The mundane, redundant tasks for like SEO for clients is usually done in the afternoon, because it's just like, it's like a factory thing. All right, do this, check, do this, do this, do this, right?
See, mine exactly are the opposite. Things that need to get done, I have energy in the day, like in the morning. Creative things that require thinking, I usually try and do them in the night, sometimes very late at night, because that's when my ideas seem to come to me best, and there's no distractions for me to worry about. So that's that's just the way I work, and I
Yeah.
think it's personal with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be exactly the same way. I used to stay up late at night and be extremely creative that way. Glass of wine certainly helped. but then I found myself, I was very tired the next day, because I was exercising my brain, through this creative process, and I wake up, it's like, because when you exercise, you're always kind of a little bit sore or tired the next day, right? So that's why I've switched it, and it's been working wonders. I sleep like a baby. I get to have a nap in the afternoon if I want. I've got a recliner in my office, so it's wonderful. So.
Naps are good.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of after lunch naps.
Yeah.
I think I'm Italian somewhere along. That break in the day is perfect. A little food, a little wine, a little snooze, and then back to work.
A carbolicious nap, right?
But I before we close, and I think we're coming close to our close, but I think the point is well taken, that we all need to become very cognizant of when our most creative time is, and to make sure that we're able to do that. But what I'm hearing all of you say, and actually resonated with me because that's the way I do it as well, is that I have my week, every week is scheduled in a certain way. This day is when I do this, and this day is when I do that. So I've got the week has always got a structure to it, and then so on that specific day, if that's the day I'm doing this, then I might jot down 3 or 4 things, or I go to my Trello list and say, okay, so this is the day that I'm doing this. So now what do I need to pay attention to, and what am I going to do? But the other thing that I might mention, and it's along the lines of this whole creativity thing, I found that I've started doing some little bit of writing. I've decided to do some more blogging, etc. So there's a process there, even, and I've even discovered what that process is now. So I know that I've committed to do something on Monday morning. So on Friday, I sit down with my list of ideas and decide what that's going to be. And I'll sit there, and I know what the topic is, but I haven't the faintest idea what I want to say about it. So I do that on Friday, and I know that overnight it will percolate.
Right.
And the next day I'll sit down and I'll write. And then I leave it for another day and let that percolate. And usually better ideas come to me actually in the shower.
Yeah, me too.
And sometimes, as you say, over a glass of wine. When you're just totally relaxed, I guess is really what we're saying. And then, so Sunday night, I've got that piece is ready to roll on Monday morning. So I've now discovered what my process is, and I know what it is. I think that's really, really important for us all to really experiment with how we're doing, and to realize that all this work is a process, and we have to recognize how that process works, and then once we've figured it out, then that's the process we follow. So, and that's true of almost everything we do. Yeah. So this has been kind of an interesting chat this morning. I hope that our listeners out there learned a few things. I know I certainly did learn some things from you folks, and I really, really appreciate that. So I think it's time for us to draw this to a close with a reminder to everybody out there. Please join my Being Your Own CEO community on Google+. You'll find lots of resources. I try to post things that I know will be of value to the solo entrepreneur. That's the desire there, is to just pull all kinds of resources that are very useful to the solopreneur. And I welcome others to come in and post things that they think will be useful to the solopreneur as well. So, oh yes, and having said that, I want to remind you, if YouTube is your pleasure, you can join my channel or subscribe to my channel there as well. So this is Lolan signing off for this week.